Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Sanford and I am a developer engagement lead with Microsoft, and I am here talking to one of our recent, what do you call it, graduates of certification pathway. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is David Smith, and I'm a Masters of Data Science student at the University of Western Australia. My background is actually in architecture and computational design. Now, that is buildings and not software. My main kind of goal in moving towards technology is the fact that I see the built environment as having issues with efficiency. It equates to around 40% of global CO2 emissions. And I believe that there's a lack of accountability and efficiency in their processes. So one of the key aspects to solving this issue is technology. And that is why I've moved to software and data science and tools such as Azure, which you can deploy to find great value from pre-built solutions.
Oh, that's really cool. Architecture, which is not cloud architecture, but now it might be.
I think it's really good going from architecture with the path of architect, crossing over to solutions architect and data engineer. It's a really interesting pathway and a great learning experience.
No one's ever going to accuse you of not being qualified as an architect because you're
I'm sure they will.
doubly qualified in multiple fields as an architect. Cool. So you started this this technical pathway through the WA Data Science and Innovation Hub Skills Challenge. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you enjoyed in the program?
Yeah, it was a fantastic program. I think the best thing was I really enjoy learning. And there's so much to learn out there. And I think that this pathway really gives you a lot of access to really useful skills and tools. And the learning pathway is very well structured and documented. And it's quite a fun thing to learn about technology that almost would have seemed to be sci-fi more than a few years back, just at the tip of your fingers. And even through kind of the fundamentals, you really gain appreciation for the amount of value you can get out from these processes. So I had a great time kind of going through the events and going through the learning path and really just consolidating the skills.
I always say to students that are preparing for this exam that it's a fundamentals level exam and therefore they do not really need to do the labs. They could just read the learning path, and as long as they understand the concepts and how they would be applied in the real world, they would be able to pass the exam. Did you do any of the labs?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely a good way of looking at it. I didn't do all of the labs. I did the ones that I thought were going to be very interesting. I think it's very key to when you do these fundamentals is really conceptualize it on how you as a developer or once you graduate as a student, or if you just want to do these pathways, how you would apply it in the real world. If you can conceptualize like that, everything kind of makes sense together, and then the fundamentals exam is easy or easier when you have that kind of grounding. I definitely think you don't have to put in all the time or stress to do too much of the kind of rote learning. It's mainly about, do you understand the fundamental concepts? Because at the end of the day, you can always refer back to the material or the documentation, which is very extensive for implementation. But it's really about how do you action this to create value.
Oh, that's a really good point because, yeah, there are two things that we'd be thinking about there. Are you trying to pass the exam, or are you trying to make yourself industry ready? And of course, to pass the exam, you just need to do the academic study. But if you were going to try and apply those principles in the real world, you would want to know how it actually looks on the platform, where the labs might help you. What do you think generally is the value of these certifications? I mean, you're doing a master's degree right now in science.
Yeah. So obviously adding to my HECSTET now with a second degree and a second master's, but that's another discussion. But I think it is very valuable to do both. When you go through the academic process, you learn a lot of base fundamental skills and concepts. It's more about kind of a way of thinking about problems and technology. But when you do these kind of certifications, it's about how do you put that fundamentals into action, and really create either business value or kind of, value in multiple different senses out into the community, which is really what kind of I hope to do. It's much more applied. I think there's a lot of value in augmenting your processes by doing both, and that's kind of why obviously I chose to pursue and continue to do these certifications as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation that I ask a lot of people, because you get like a real deep domain expertise with your degree. And a lot of people are then puzzled as to why they would do a vendor certification like these Microsoft credentials. But I think it, like, you still want to have that deep domain expertise, but you also, if you can get these industry credentials, it does show that you have a willingness to learn how to use industry tools and how to apply them in the workplace, which is cool.
It is very much around the acquisition of skill and producing those outputs. I mean, I work with a non-for-profit group with a bunch of historians, and they've spent 40 years scanning documents, and going through this Azure fundamentals, looking at how you can implement computer vision with OCR, natural language processing, to extract kind of text and entities and key names and phrases, and then knowledge search to kind of tie this together. It's really quite a well-packaged solution. And we could take it to people who've been working for 40 years, and give them a prototype for a solution to put in place very quickly. And you see that value, feedback in front of you. It's fantastic kind of working with these technologies for that reason.
Yeah, I think the OCR, that like the forms, and also
that's going to help my tax.
Yeah, well, the forms, definitely, that's super useful. But the other thing that I always enjoy, and when I look back to my student days, is we used to have to make handwritten notes after watching the lecturer write stuff on the board, on the blackboard, or maybe he would present stuff via a projector, but he wouldn't give us the notes. He wouldn't give us the lecture notes, and we had to handwrite those things. But being able to take a picture of a screen, or a picture of some notes that someone else had taken, and then just like right click on it and have it translate those to text, that to me seems like magic.
I really like using the dictation tool. Obviously, you can tell probably from this that I like talking, but I find that explaining concepts, trying to make them clear, and this is how, one of the ways in which I studied for this exam was just dictating notes and concepts, not going too far into the details of it, but just being able to explain it like you would to a colleague or a friend, and trying to keeping it very high level. There's a lot of very valuable technology out there.
And that's a really good technique, actually. If you can teach something to someone else, then you can definitely understand it yourself. And explaining it in a really simple way, I think, means that you have a complex understanding of the topic.
Yes.
Do you have any final tips and tricks to share?
Yeah, so when sitting the exam, I definitely think the first thing obviously you should do is do the learning pathways, but don't spend too much time taking notes on everything. Just work your way through, find areas that you're not comfortable with or are comfortable with. The next thing I would recommend to everybody is watch Michelle's videos. She's produced them for a reason. I was fortunate enough to go through one of the live sessions. There's a lot of value in what she's got to say, and also her GitHub is fantastic. So really good resources. Number one. Number two is book your exam. Don't procrastinate. Have it booked. Then it forces you to be ready. And then do some practice questions and just be comfortable. It's not a high pressure situation, maybe with universities where there's a lot of pressure on an exam. You can always do it again if you fail, or do something you you didn't get it right or something the first time. It's about learning, and that's why I really like these certifications. Is it's actually about the learning and the outcomes rather than the piece of paper at the end.
Piece of paper's nice though, hey.
Well, this is a virtual piece of paper, so you can have it both ways.
It's nice to have that badge on your LinkedIn profile. Yeah, that's a really good point, and one that I do like to stress to students is that the certification dashboard only records your successes. It doesn't say how many times you have failed or if you have failed. It only records the things that you have passed. So therefore, there's no need to be afraid of taking the exam. You should just do it. And if you did fail the first time, at least you would know. You would know what the exam was like. You would know what the format was like, and you would overcome some of the fear and panic that you have when you go into that exam scenario. And I think that most people that fail, it's not because they cannot pass this exam. It's because they panicked and their brain froze up. Because normally, people who are following the certification pathway and watching my videos, 97% of those people pass.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, David. And this has been awesome.
No worries. Thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing to have discussions and going through the certifications and the learning and